a foilage and balayage. We're gonna foilage the top of her hair, and we're going to balayage her ends on the underneath. So her goal today is to leave a lot cooler, and her ends are gonna be popped up a lot lighter. And we're also gonna take care of, she's pretty rooty right now, which rooty's good, you know, not a bad thing, but just to kind of mix it up and do something a little different, we're gonna do the foilage up to her scalp along this mohawk area. All right, so I've mixed up, this is Mask Lightener from Davines, and it's 20 volumes, so this is gonna be our foilage lightener. And then we've got Free Lights with 30 volume and some Olaplex in it. And this is gonna be our balayage lightener for her ends. So everything that we've got out on that mohawk and then some of her underneath, we're gonna go ahead and balayage, and lighten and brighten. All right, so the sectioning for this is where Michelle, this is where you part all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So this is where Michelle parts, usually. So I'm gonna take a mohawk section across the top. And this is gonna be our foilage section. I'm keeping in mind whatever spills over this back area, I wanna pick up in that mohawk section because we don't want a big dark patch back here where her cowlick is. So it's just a rectangular section. Michelle comes in, how often? Like
every 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah, every 8 to 10 weeks. We are gonna also trim her up today. So we'll be sure to include that. I do a little bit of an undercut on her bob. She has a ton of hair, so she likes it, the weight taken out every time. This is your Christmas hair.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you guys are doing clients right now that you won't see till after Christmas, so holiday hair. I don't want this section too wide. Because I want it to be able to fit on that foil well. All right, so there's our mohawk. And then we're just gonna take a radial parting for the balayage. And again, I'm not gonna really go up. I do wanna keep some depth in there because when this spills over, I want there to be some depth. So the balayage that we're doing is really only gonna stay in the ends. And we've gotten Michelle to go 3 days without washing.
It is a miracle, and the first time and only time that we'll probably
No, you gotta keep up with it. She thinks her root's really greasy, but it's not at all, and our hair likes oil, especially before a color service like this. It's really good. Michelle's doing good. All right, so back in here, we've got a bob with a little bit of an undercut, so there's really no reason for us to go in and get into this interior. It's already pre-lightened, so all I'm gonna do here is just paint this surface area right here. The less lightener we put on the hair, the better. Healthy hair is always number one. So I do have the Olaplex in it because I am overlapping over the ends. All right, let's get started. Painting off our hand. And I am going to start back here. And it's important, do you see this cowlick jumping right there? It's always going to live right there. So even though it makes my section not look perfect, he's going to hang out with his family over there. All right. This consistency is a little bit runnier because I'm only saturating the ends. So I want it that way. The more detailing we're doing, the thicker the consistency of the free lights. I'm just gonna go ahead and still keep it piecey. And then this area that's blended right here is going to be our gradient. And I've got complete saturation in the ends. So combining the two techniques, balayage and foilage, makes for a really, really pretty blended look, but you still have that gradient and that depth. And it's fun for us to change it up. Michelle likes change too.
I do.
You guys, if your clients don't like change, you've got to introduce it to them. It's fun for everybody. Keeps it different. Clean hands. Saran wrap, we're going to isolate it. Alright, so that's our back section. Okay, so everything's taken at an angle. I try not to do anything horizontally. So it's going to look like this. We've got an angle, 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 and then at this top, there's going to be 3 separate angles right there, or the fish scale. If you've got color hanging horizontally, it tends to look stripy. Anything at an angle like this, diagonal backs and diagonal forwards, it's going to help the color feel more blended and it's going to have a flow. Okay, so this area is already really light, so I don't need to overlap. I am trying to pop everything up to kind of a 10 on the ends because we're going to tone with a 10-2-3 and a 10-1-2. Try and ash it out pretty good. A little bit of 4-2-2. Right there on the ends. My section is nice and thick, and I am letting this hair fall out back here because I do want to keep depth. I don't want it to look like a foil highlight. My favorite balayage brush is Joico brushes. They're nice and stiff, and then they've got a nice flat edge. I like to use the edge to detail. Alright, so we're cutting off again. This time it's a diagonal back, the hair is pushing back. This is usually where depth lives, in these diagonal backs. But in this case, like I said, we're going to try and lighten all her ends, or the majority of her ends. The closer down I hold to the brush, the more detail work that's done. The farther away, the more blending that gets done. And it's all, my wrist isn't moving, it's all in my hands. It's a sweeping motion. It's what balayage means, to sweep. And it is a surface paint down here. Surface painting creates gradient. It's so informative today. All that, the classes from Push, and it all paid off. All right, y'all see that gradient? That's going to create a mid-tone. I love midtones in hair because you can have high contrast between the dark and the light because you've got that mid-tone to connect it. Midtones are almost impossible to tone out of hair. So if you are doing this sweeping motion and having this gradient effect, you will have a little bit of warmth in there. So the client does need to know that. But it connects the dark with the light. So for me, it's a necessary thing. So we're at the top foilage part. This is kind of the width of my sections. I'm gonna leave just a little bit out. And then I'm going to give it a little push. And we paint. So this is regular lightener, it's not a clay lightener. And it's 20 volume. We're going to run it to her ends. I will not be using heat with this service. I do want her hair still to stay melty, so this top part's not going to be quite as light as the rest of it. Which is going to mean we're going to use 2 different toners. And I'm just sandwiching the foil. So some of them are going to be a weave and some are going to be a slice. I'm just going to alternate. We got through this really fast, you guys, so it took what, like 15 minutes for the sides? Sometimes less is more. Michelle already had like a good foundation in there, so I'm slicing this one off. So we didn't need to go to town on it. All right. Holding at the ends, and I'm just pushing down. It's not a tease. 2 pushes. All these little guys need to be out of the way. We're going to do this the whole way up to the top. When we get to that money piece section, I'm going to go ahead and do things a little bit differently. Some of my melts are going to be up to the root, and some of them are going to be a little bit farther down. So this one's a farther down piece. The ones where I'm slicing, I'm keeping it farther down. The ones where I'm weaving, I'm going to take it up to the root. Lots of variation in this. Sandwich. Fold that corner down. Good to go. So this next one's going to be a weave. Don't be afraid to try new techniques on y'all's clients. These are big leaves I'm scooping out. And we're getting a little higher. It isn't at the root because I do have that cushion of back comb right there. But it's higher up than that previous section. Full saturation. I turn my brush on its side. And I just blend right there. All right, this next one's a slice. We'll speed it up and then we'll come back to the top. Okay, we're at the front piece. These are going to be slices that are pretty close together. They're still going to have that back comb in it. 2 little pushes. All these little hairs, they need to be out of the way. You're not painting those, you're going to get some spottiness here. So she's still gonna be rooty. We want a seamless grow out. Because again, Michelle comes every 8 to 10 weeks.
Like especially.
Tracy's so loud. I have my own little room, you guys. It's like the best thing ever. At first I was mad about it, but you guys like it too, right?
like it.
Yeah, my clients like it. It just works. I didn't like being away from everybody, but sometimes it's nice. I'm not dragging on to Michelle's ends up here because they're already really light. So I did stop it, or I felt like things could get compromised. The hairline, I'm gonna do one more slice, and then the hairline I am gonna weave. So they're very thin sections, y'all kind of see, you can see through it. Again, holding at the top, a little bit of push down. And I'm gonna keep it off of her ends. If it doesn't need it, don't do it. I'm a big fan of less is more. It makes the next time around a lot easier too. I'm feathering down at the end so it's not just like a drop off. Okay, so this last section is going to be a weave. I'm not taking any hair out of it. It's very thin. Back combing.
Now, I just want to confirm with you, if I have something in backbar and not available retail, you guys can ship it over in the system and we can sell it to a retail price.
Yeah, like it has you're on the video. Say hi!
Hi, real life.
Real life.
I'm like trying to sell some retail and I haven't. I'd like to sell it, please.
So it has like the sticker on it.
Yeah.
It's not for resale. Yeah, it's fine if they're okay with
Okay,
it.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's Tracy, y'all. You'll hear her in every video. But she's right, it is real life. I do get lots of questions throughout the day, which does cause me to run behind on literally every single client. Okay, so we've got all the foilage in, and now I am going to go through and paint her ends that are out with balayage. So she's got all kinds of techniques going on in her hair. We're going to start front to back, or excuse me, back to front, just like we did the foilage.
Oh, you did? Really? Oh.
There's Tracy. I'm not kidding, you guys. We gotta shut her out. All right. Light in just on her ends. And this is the last thing to go on because they are pre-lightened already. We don't want this sitting for a long time. We're just trying to pop them up. I'm not teasing or anything. I'm just blending with my brush. The only reason I'm using the saran wrap, it's not for isolation this time. It's for incubation. So we can get it to lift a little bit. Especially since we're not using heat. All right, so we're gonna do this all the way up to the front of her hairline. And then she's going to process for 35 minutes. I'm gonna check on her a couple times throughout that 35 minutes and just make sure her ends look okay. If there's ever anything I'm concerned about, I'm gonna go ahead and pull it right away. And then we will check back in for the turn. Okay guys, so Michelle's done. It's been 30 minutes, no heat. This is what it looks like. Peeked at her front. And she's sitting at a 9 at that root. And so what we're gonna do is tone. Here's my root. I use a darker bowl for the root. This is 9-1, which is a 9 blue-based ash, with 10-1-2, which is a level 10 blue-based ash and red-based violet. Red-based violet sounds scary, but it does kind of provide that fill that we're gonna need. And then I've got a dot of level 4 double pigment violet. So this is gonna be a really cool ashy root. And then here we've got the 10-1-2, again level 10 blue-based ash with the violet, along with a 10-0. I'm just gonna use that to help control because her ends are porous. So 10 neutral, and then it does have a dot of the level 4 double pigment violet, 422. Okay, we're gonna head to the bowl. Michelle looks beautiful. So foilage, balayage. There it is. Bright, light, dimensional. Loving it. Looks great. Michelle loves it too.
Love it. Love it.
Here's our little money piece that we worked on. She's beautiful. Holiday hair.
Love it.
Love